but I didn't see my life as a farmer. So I decided wisest thing to do was just call it quit, get the hell out, and go do something else.
Honestly, that is good stuff. See?
Well, I gotta admit, you guys did find the right idiot.
What do we do in here? You want to know about my life too?
At 65, Tony Beets eats like a man built for survival, not for trends, and what he puts on his plate will shock you. While others his age slow down, he's still digging through the frozen Yukon, tackling grueling work that younger men can barely handle. His key's not fancy diets or so-called superfoods. What exactly fuels a man who refuses to break? Tune in, because Tony's diet is something so shocking the FDA is looking for him. A breakfast fit for a gold miner. Breakfast is not some delicate affair in Tony's world. He doesn't start his day with some oat milk nonsense or a sad little yogurt cup. No, when the sun rises, he fuels up like a man who's about to conquer the earth itself. Eggs cooked in straight bacon grease, not a single thought given to cholesterol. The bacon, thick cut, sizzling hot, the kind that lets you know you're about to eat something real. And toast, maybe if he's feeling like it, but it's getting slathered in real butter, none of that margarine nonsense. And let's be clear, he doesn't do fancy coffee orders. It's black, it's strong, and it's meant to get the job done. He drinks it like he works, without hesitation. Before we go any further, one thing is certain. Tony's next meal isn't just unusual, it's something most people wouldn't dare to eat. And this won't be the only thing that will shock you. By mid-morning, most people would be reaching for some kind of healthy snack, but he's got no time for that. He's in full gear, running his operation like a battlefield general. The man barely stops for a breath, let alone a granola bar.
We don't eat here, we don't have breakfast here, we just sleep here, that's it.
Here, I'll show you what's in my fridge.
In a melon that looks sad.
I've been there for a month.
Lunch isn't some handcrafted, nutritionally balanced meal either. It's whatever is quick, easy, and packed with enough protein to keep him from keeling over. Usually it's a thick sandwich loaded with smoked ham and cheese, held together with bread that's built for a working man, not a spa retreat. If the weather is brutal, and let's be honest, in the Yukon it usually is, he'll go for something heartier. A massive bowl of beef stew, packed with chunks of meat and potatoes so thick it practically needs a shovel instead of a spoon. This isn't some dainty soup, this is fuel for the kind of labor that grinds men down. By the time the sun is sitting high in the sky, he is still out there, pushing his crew to keep going, making sure every piece of equipment is running at full power, and staying laser-focused on digging up as much gold as humanly possible. Taking it easy. That's not even a thought in his mind. Snacks? Not a chance. You won't catch him sitting down with a handful of nuts or sipping on some fancy juice while watching the work unfold. If he stops moving, it's because something absolutely demands his attention. Something big, something that could cost him time and money. Not because he's tired, not because he needs to rest. He pushes through, staying on his feet, making calls, fixing problems, and driving the work forward without slowing down for even a moment.
Sick performance. They never get it. They just never get it.
But when the sun finally dips below the horizon and the long, grueling day is done, that's when everything shifts. That's when he sits down to eat like a man who has earned every single bite. For Tony, dinner isn't just a meal. It's a feast, a celebration of another day of hard work. And it's not some small, careful plate of food. No, he eats like he means it. Meat is always at the center of the table and not just a little piece here and there. If it's steak, it's the kind that takes up an entire plate, thick and cooked exactly how he likes it. If it's ribs, they're falling off the bone, slow cooked to perfection, covered in a sauce that's thick and rich. And sometimes, if the mood is right, it's a whole roasted chicken, glistening with flavor, just waiting to be pulled apart piece by piece. He doesn't just eat meat, he devours it, enjoys every bite like it's fuel for the next day's work. But the feast doesn't stop there. Potatoes? Oh, they're always on the table, and they come in every form possible. Mashed with loads of butter, fried until golden and crispy, roasted to bring out every bit of flavor. The only rule? They need to be hearty, filling, and covered in something rich, gravy, extra butter, or whatever else makes them taste even better. Vegetables? Sure, they might show up on the plate, but let's be real. He's not choosing them because he's worried about nutrition. If there's a scoop of greens next to a steak, it's probably because someone else put it there. He might take a bite, he might not, but it's never the highlight of the meal. And after all that, there's one thing he always looks forward to: his beer. That first sip after a long, exhausting day is one of the best parts of the evening. It's not about drinking too much, not about losing control. It's about finally letting the weight of the day settle, about sitting back and appreciating what he's built, what he's working toward. The cold drink in his hand, the fire crackling in the background, the air cool after a hot day. It's a moment of peace. But every now and then, when the day has been particularly good, when the gold is flowing and things are looking up, he allows himself something extra. Dessert. And just like everything else in his world, it's not some tiny little portion. If he's having pie, it's a slice so big it barely fits on the plate. If it's cake, it's thick, rich, and piled high with whatever makes it even more decadent. No guilt, no second guessing. When he eats, he does it with purpose, and he never apologizes for enjoying what he's earned. The way Tony eats shows the kind of man he is: strong, fearless, and never holding back. But to really know him, you need to see where he came from a small farm to the gold fields. Tony Beets wasn't born into an easy life, and that's probably why he never expected one. Born in a tiny Dutch village, he didn't grow up surrounded by luxury or handed opportunities. No, his world was built on hard work, dirt-stained hands, and a farm that needed tending. His parents, Klaus and Magda Beets, weren't rich, but they knew how to work, and that's exactly what he learned from them. By the time he was a kid, he already knew that survival meant breaking your back and pushing through. At just 7 years old, his family packed up and moved to Bergvord, a place where farming wasn't just a way of life, it was the only way. Dairy farms surrounded him, and that meant one thing: endless chores, early mornings, and no room for laziness. He didn't have a childhood full of play. He had fields to plow, cows to milk, and machines to fix. This wasn't just a passing phase, this was shaping him into someone who didn't quit, someone who saw hard work as the only path forward.
Oh boy, that's gonna bring back some memories, all right. I thought I got away from all of this, but I guess not, huh?
Then, when he was 15, life smacked him in the face. His father suffered a terrible accident, one that left him unable to work. In most families, that kind of thing means chaos. But he stepped up. He took control of the farm like a man twice his age, managing workers who had been there long before him. They were older, more experienced, but that wasn't about to stop him. He learned to lead, to take charge, and to make sure things ran the way they needed to. Whether they liked it or not, he was in charge. This wasn't just about keeping the farm afloat. He had to find ways to make money, real money, and fast. He jumped into every kind of work he could find. If it paid, he did it. Long days, grueling conditions, none of it scared him. In fact, it only made him tougher. By the time he was in his late teens, he wasn't just some farm kid anymore. He knew how to operate machinery, handle tough labor, and outwork just about anyone around him. But was this all there was? He didn't think so. By the time he hit 20, he knew he had to leave. The Netherlands wasn't going to give him what he wanted, and he wasn't going to sit around waiting for things to get better. Canada had space, opportunity, and a whole lot of work that needed doing. So he left. No safety net, no second chances, just a one-way trip to a place where he'd have to make it or break it. He landed in British Columbia near Salmon Arm and went straight into some of the toughest work out there. Construction, oil pipelines, whatever paid the bills. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work, and he had never been afraid of that. During this time, he didn't just find work, he found something even more important. Minnie. She wasn't some stranger. They had known each other since childhood back in the Netherlands. But now, in this new land, they built something real, a life together. While he was out breaking his back to make a living, Minnie kept things steady, making sure they were building towards something bigger. And bigger things were coming. In 1984, he and Minnie made another huge move. They left the relative comfort of British Columbia and went straight for the wild, unpredictable world of Yukon gold mining. The Klondike wasn't for the weak. It was brutal, relentless, and only the toughest survived. But he had spent his whole life preparing for something like this. He started out small, just a machine operator, but the long days and unforgiving conditions didn't break him. They made him stronger. The Yukon didn't hand out success, but he wasn't looking for handouts. He worked harder, dug deeper, and refused to walk away empty-handed. He wasn't just another miner trying his luck, he was determined to make it. And make it he did. He slowly built his reputation, gained respect, and earned his nickname, the Viking. It wasn't just about where he was from, it was about how he approached mining. Ruthless, relentless, and never backing down. But this wasn't just his story. This was a family operation. Minnie wasn't just sitting on the sidelines, she was handling the finances, making sure everything ran smoothly. And their kids? They weren't raised with silver spoons, they were in the dirt, in the machines, learning the business just like he had learned farming all those years ago.
I have faith in those kids. So.
Hey, we made them ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
The Beets name wasn't just known in mining circles, it became a force. He didn't just stick to the traditional methods, he saw opportunity where others saw risk. That's why he dove into dredging, reviving old massive gold dredges that most had abandoned. It was a gamble, but he had never been afraid of a gamble. If he could pull more gold from the ground, he was going to do it. And he did. It wasn't easy and it wasn't cheap, but it paid off. He wasn't just mining gold, he was reinventing how it was done. Of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing. The mining world isn't kind, and he had his share of battles. Legal fights, environmental roadblocks, people who wanted to see him fail. But Tony, he never let it stop him. He fought, he adapted, and he kept pushing forward. No matter how many times the world tried to slow him down, he only went harder. Years of hard work made Tony tough, but when he started mining for gold, that's when his real story began. Bringing old machines back to life. Tony Beets is not just another miner in Gold Rush, he's the guy who turns impossible into just another day at work. With his signature no-nonsense attitude and a knack for making things happen, Tony has pulled off some of the wildest stunts in the history of the show. And let's be real, the man doesn't just mine gold. He takes on challenges that would make most people turn around and run. Back in Season 7, he decided that hauling dirt the usual way was for amateurs. He went all in on a plan to bring back an old-school gold dredge, a monster of a machine from the past that no one had used in years. The thing was rusted, barely holding together, and looked more like a sinking ship than a gold machine, but he saw an opportunity. He didn't just fix it up, he made it work better than anyone thought possible. When that dredge started pulling gold, it wasn't just a win for him, it was a mic drop moment for the entire mining world. Then came Season 8, and because one old dredge wasn't enough, he decided to move another one. This wasn't a small operation, this was a behemoth, and instead of giving up, he had it broken down, transported, and put back together in one of the most jaw-dropping feats the show has ever seen. Anyone else would have called it quits at the first sign of trouble, but not him. He thrives in chaos, and when that second dredge started pulling in gold, it proved that his methods, though unconventional, work. Season 9? A nightmare. He set a ridiculous goal of pulling out 6,000 ounces of gold, which was basically daring the universe to throw every possible problem his way. And the universe delivered. Equipment broke down, land didn't cooperate, and everything seemed to go sideways. But instead of packing up, he pushed forward. He didn't hit 6,000 ounces, but 4,400 ounces in a season that tough. That's a win, and no one can argue otherwise. By Season 10, he was dealing with more than just mining. His water lease ran out, and that meant he had to pack up and move again.
To be honest with you, Parker, Indian River for me this year is off the map. I have no intentions, no licenses, I'm done.
A lot of miners would have taken the loss and moved on, but he simply rolled up his sleeves and got to work. He relocated to Paradise Hill and still managed to mine 2,259 ounces of gold. He didn't let setbacks define him, he turned them into opportunities. Then came Season 11, the year everything changed for the world. While most people were stuck at home, he and his crew quarantined on site and kept mining. No shortcuts, no breaks, just pure dedication. While the rest of the world slowed down, he kept going. That season proved that when you're built for mining, nothing, not even a global shutdown, can stop you. Season 12 was all about expansion. Bigger plans, bigger risks, and of course bigger gold hauls. He wasn't just trying to keep up, he was making sure no one else could catch up. He pushed his operation harder than ever, and while that came with its own set of problems, it also meant more gold in the pan. There's a reason he's been doing this for so long. He knows how to make things happen. Tony had always turned problems into wins, but when he joined Gold Rush, he took things to a whole new level, when gold mining becomes a test of will. Tony Beets has never been one to back down from a challenge, and Season 13 was no different. The setbacks were endless. Machines breaking down at the worst times, land issues that threatened to shut everything down, and weather that seemed like it had a personal vendetta against gold mining. It was the kind of season that could have crushed a less experienced miner, but he isn't just any miner. He's the kind of man who sees obstacles as just another thing to bulldoze through. Even with all of these problems piling up, he and his team still managed to pull out more gold than most miners could dream of. It wasn't a lucky break. It was years of experience, pure determination, and a refusal to accept failure. Then came Season 14, and he was already looking ahead. He wasn't satisfied with just another season of mining. He wanted something bigger, something that would change the game. The Indian River was waiting, and he knew it was time to make his move. But moving an entire mining operation isn't something just anyone can do. It takes careful planning, the right crew, and a level of determination most people don't have. But if there's one thing we know about him, it's that he doesn't play small. When he sets his mind on something, he goes all in, and the Indian River was no exception.
I like to bring it to the Indian River. There is a chance we may get a license this year. If we do, at least we'll have this trommel laying there and ready to go.
This wasn't just about gold, it was about securing the future. Of course, no season of Gold Rush would be complete without some serious clashes between miners. He and Parker Schnabel have one of the most intense rivalries in the show, and whether they're trying to outdo each other or being forced to work together, it's always entertaining. He has been in the game for decades, and he has a way of doing things that doesn't always sit well with others. He doesn't care about looking good, he cares about getting results. His mining style might seem rough to some, but there's no denying that it works. And in the end, results are what matter most. But he isn't just a miner, he's a powerhouse, a man who refuses to let anything stand in his way. He takes risks that would make others hesitate, and more often than not, those risks pay off in a big way. He doesn't follow the usual path, he makes his own. Whether it's tearing apart massive dredges, relocating his entire operation, or standing toe-to-toe with other mining legends, he has proven time and time again that he's in a league of his own. Every single season, he raises the stakes, pushing the limits of what's possible in gold mining. No matter what nature, bad luck, or rival miners throw at him, he finds a way to come back even stronger. So what's next for Tony Beets? If history tells us anything, it's that he's not about to slow down. He's built an empire on determination, guts, and a relentless drive to dig deeper, mine smarter, and come out on top. Whatever challenge comes his way next, one thing is certain, it's going to be something that shakes things up in a way only he can. Is Tony Beets proving that old-school eating is better than modern diets, or is he just an exception to the rule? Could his way of fueling his body be the key to long-lasting strength, or is it a ticking time bomb? Tell us what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.